Now CBS 4 investigates police officers on the clock but refusing to answer calls for help. It's a story that was hard to believe when we first started investigating.
But tonight, we have the surveillance tapes. Officers being delinquent on duty. Here's CBS 4's investigator, Jim DeFeeti.
15 on a 29 just occurred, 122-124 pass.
3:46 p.m. in the Kendall district of Miami-Dade County, and an armed robbery is in progress.
15 on a 29 just occurred, 122-124 pass. We don't have anybody out here to take it.
The officer offering to respond is nowhere near the crime. It would be better if someone closer handled the call, so the dispatcher takes to the air again with added urgency.
Attention all units, a 29 just occurred with a gun, cash taken, subject's a black male wearing a black hoodie, blue jeans. He fled on foot.
But there was someone closer, but he had his hands full. Instead of answering the repeated calls, Officer Dario Socarras was canoodling with a young woman behind the Dayline Mall. As he continues to cuddle and kiss his girlfriend, his fellow officers were slogging their way to the call.
Is there anybody on the scene?
We're coming from a distance. We're not arrival yet.
18 minutes after the call first came in, units make it to the scene. By then, the suspect is long gone. Another day, another call. This one, a possible disturbance just across the street from the Dayline Mall. But investigators say they once again found Socarras in the mall parking lot with his girlfriend. These surveillance videos, obtained by CBS 4 News, were taken by the police department's internal affairs unit. IA spent months following the officers assigned to this section of Kendall, secretly videotaping and logging their activities, even using tracking devices on the officers' cars to catalog their movements. And then there's this video, according to the reports, which shows Socarras and two other members of the squad drinking Cuban coffee at an outdoor restaurant when a call comes in of an infant having a medical emergency.
5-month-old, not alert. Kilo 3106, 341.
Kilo 3106 is Socarras. A high-priority call indeed. Both paramedics and police are dispatched and expected to go full out with lights and sirens.
It's all rough, man. There's no one around fire rise.
Although he tells the dispatcher he's en route, Socarras sits there drinking his coffee. Paramedics will ultimately tend to the baby boy, who will be fine. And while he never moves, Socarras will reportedly write in his report that he went to the scene. Wasn't Socarras worried his supervisors might find out what he was doing? Apparently not, because this is his supervisor, Sergeant Jennifer Gonzalez. Surveillance video shows her going to Kohl's, Target, and Lowe's. Star clerks ever helpful. Internal Affairs say she should have been on the road answering calls or supervising her troops at that time. They also claim she spent hours visiting her parents in Cutler Ridge when she was supposed to be patrolling Kendall. And she, too, has a boyfriend that investigators say she would sometimes rendezvous with while on duty. On this day, Socarras happened to get into a traffic accident in Coral Gables, causing a fair amount of damage to both vehicles.
Civilian vehicle, maybe $500. Mine about $1,500.
Okay, which one is it, 1,000 or 500?
1,000.
A supervisor is required to investigate. The dispatcher tries raising Sergeant Gonzalez, who supposedly is on a call. In fact, she's with her boyfriend.
3180, how long before you can clear reference to 17?
Gonzalez doesn't respond.
Is there a supervisor on there?
A supervisor from another sector immediately responds. He wonders why Gonzalez isn't handling her own squad.
QSL, can you check to see when she'll be clearing?
3180.
Negative, I won't be able to. Could he call me at a number?
Sergeant Gonzalez said she was too busy to go and would handle it by phone. Police officials argue Gonzalez's attitude infected the entire squad. When someone calls 911 from a Winn-Dixie and abruptly hangs up, officers Jeffrey Price and Fabian Owens, riding in a two-man car, are told to investigate. Internal Affairs watched as they cruised through the parking lot, never getting out of their car or even, for that matter, stopping. Price and Owens roll by a Chevron gas station where there is a reported problem as well. On at least one occasion, they never even bothered driving by, Internal Affairs charges. Likewise, investigators documented how Officer Ivan Thomas hung out at La Carreta and Pollo Tropical rather than taking a series of emergency calls that were backing up.
We're talking about falsification of official records. We're talking about stealing time that doesn't belong to you because they're supposed to be available for service or duty and they're not.
When CBS 4 News first started examining these officers more than a year ago, former Miami Police Chief Ken Harms told us that in all his years in law enforcement, he had never heard of an entire squad ducking calls the way this one had.
Not to my recollection. And that's something that certainly, in my view, would be memorable.
So what happened to these officers? Well, as we'll explain in greater detail tomorrow, officers Huerta and Socarras and Sergeant Gonzalez were fired. The other officers received suspensions. And the ramifications from this event, well, they're still being felt today. Now, Shannon, I should also, and Elliot, I should point out, we tried reaching the officers, and through their spokesman, the PBA, and through their attorneys, they declined our request for an interview.
The video is really unbelievable, and some people might say, Jim, that this is criminal in nature.
Well, in fact, the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office was given this case, was asked to review it, but at the end of the day, Catherine Fernandez-Reynolds decided not to prosecute these officers, instead allowing the department to handle it administratively.
And some have lost their jobs, so they're trying to get their jobs back?
You're right. Some of these officers are trying to get back on the street. All of them are still licensed police officers, and if they don't get their jobs back in Miami-Dade, they could end up in a department near you.
We'll look forward to your story tomorrow. Thank you.
Jim.
Well, the